For many people, home is a sanctuary. It's been completely customized and decorated to your personal liking, and it's one of the only places where you can truly be yourself. But as you grow older and lose mobility, this sanctuary can suddenly become full of obstacles and health hazards. Children often notice these struggles first as they watch their parents try to safely navigate around hallways and stairs, but it can be difficult to convince their parents of the dangers. Amy Goyer, the National Family and Caregiving Expert for AARP, says the first strategy is to talk to loved ones about home renovations sooner rather than later.
So it might be, okay, Mom, when there comes a time when it's hard for you to get up and down the stairs, let's talk about the options in the home of how we might update things, renovate things to make it easier for you. Maybe we're going to put the laundry on the same floor where your bedroom is. Maybe we're going to get a stair lift that climbs you up the stairs, or maybe we're going to put in a little elevator lift somewhere. Are we going to move your bedroom to the main floor? It's easier to talk about those things when they're not imminent.
The second tactic is to keep the conversation open. Everyone's needs change with time, so having continuous talks about what should be updated will ensure that all the bases have been covered.
When you do have these conversations, it's important to do your homework first. So we talked about observing, looking around the house, where are there some hazards? And also observe what needs to change. So when you come to the conversation, have some alternatives to offer. Talk about, how are we going to get you in and out of the house? What are the things, if I think that you shouldn't be going up and down stairs anymore, here are the options. We're going to do a stair lift. We're going to move your bedroom down to the main floor. Here are 4 different options. Let's talk about them and which is best for you.
Though necessary, these conversations can be uncomfortable. Ty Pennington, a longtime home renovation expert, says much of this discomfort stems from the role reversal of parent and child.
Your parents put child protective, knobs on everything so we wouldn't hurt ourselves getting in the cabinets. And then as we get older, we're doing that for our parents in the sense that we want to remove the obstacles. And so it's one of those things where you don't want to alarm, your loved one by I'm so worried about you, but just you want to have that conversation and say, hey, what are some of the things that would make life a lot easier?
Some of the most common barriers for older adults in a home are stairs and loose rugs. However, noticing these obstacles can be difficult when they're part of someone's everyday routine. Goyer recommends using the buddy system to map out all potential problem areas.
I always think it's a good idea to walk through the home with your loved ones, or if you're looking at renovating the home for yourself, have somebody else walk through with you and get some feedback on where are the places that might not be completely safe. And, if you go through your routine every day, okay, I get out of bed. Am I able to get out of bed okay? Going to the bathroom, can I get through the doorway with my walker? Or do I need to have a curbless shower so I can walk in? Is it too hard for me to get over the tub, or do I need a shower chair?
Even seemingly insignificant things can be a big issue down the road. For example, people with arthritis should assess the accessibility of their faucets and drawers. Is it possible to switch faucets from a manual handle to a touch-free system? Even standard kitchen countertops and cabinets can be a big issue for seniors who can't reach or climb onto a stepladder.
Is there a way to lower the countertop so that they can prepare meals, be part of the family, whether it's just cutting vegetables or whatnot? And of course, lowering cabinets so that they can get access to whether it's tea and coffee or all the above, so that they can do things still for themselves. Because homes aren't always adapted, they haven't thought about being, let's just say, personalized for one person. And being on Extreme, that's what we did. We literally personalized each home for that particular needs.
As the former host of Extreme Makeover Home Edition, Pennington understands the hesitation and anxiety some people have toward remodeling their home. However, much of his experience has been with disability-friendly renovations, so he knows the immense value it can add to someone's life.
The cost of a renovation to a home that already belongs in your family compared to the cost of, let's say, housing a loved one for years in a home, in the long run, you're just adding value to the house that is going to be in your family for years, because we're all going to age at some point. And so all the changes we make to this home is going to help everybody else in your family that's eventually going to need those, whether it's a ramp, whether it's a handicap accessible bathroom, etc.
Another common source of stress is the money needed to fund these big projects. But Pennington says creating a budget and prioritizing spaces can make renovations more manageable.
What can we do this year? What can we do next year? What can we, look forward to all the way down the road? And so just sort of put your biggest problem first and then save, let's just say, the HEPA air filter for the clean air till the very end if it's not something that's absolutely critical right now.
And though financials are an uncomfortable topic in many families, Goyer says being straightforward and honest with your loved ones is the best course of action.
People don't talk about money, and many families have a history of not talking about money, so it can feel like kind of a taboo subject. Be very matter of fact about it. And it may be that your parents don't want to make changes because they just feel like they come from a mindset of not spending money. They might need it for something else later. So if you talk about a budget, talk about literally a budget. Okay, where is this money going to come from? And how can we use this money to the best to meet the highest priorities?
Goyer also recommends looking into home equity lines of credit or organizations within your community that offer assistance. And if money is tight, identify problem areas around the house that are easy to update but can still make a big difference.
Some of the simplest things are just putting safety bars, in a bathroom so that sitting down on a toilet, which surprisingly toilets are a lot lower than you would think. And sometimes just putting a riser pad makes it a lot easier for someone to sort of get on and off of the toilet, which can be a real struggle. And sometimes it's just as simple as a motion detector light so that when you walk into a room, you don't have to look for a light switch, it just comes on.
And though these are simple renovations, Pennington says it's still important to hire professionals you trust to get the job done correctly.
I'm just saying sometimes with a home renovation, you have to watch which breaker or which line each light switch is on. Because my mom, the joys of getting older is like also living with your loved one again. And so in the middle of the night, my mom will turn on a light, but in my room next door, the floodlights will come on and it's like an interrogation room. So it's funny how as we adapt our homes, we have to also remember to hire the best people to do the job so that you don't have to do it twice.
But even after all the conversations and planning, some people will still refuse to make the necessary changes. Goyer says that in these cases, it's important to understand and validate how they feel.
Change is scary for all of us, no matter how old you are. And so talk about, okay, you don't want to make these changes. Let's talk about that. What are the fears? What does it mean to you to make some updates or changes to this home? See if you can get to the bottom of it. And then often it helps to start gradually, start with one smaller thing and then see if they can, as they get used to that and think, okay, well, that is kind of nice having these grab bars in the bathroom. That actually went pretty well. And then you can bring up another issue next, maybe bring up the stairs next.
It's also important to think about who is a part of these discussions. Pennington says it can be difficult for parents to accept their children as a voice of authority.
A parent never wants to hear from an offspring or a child that they know the right answer for them, right? Like that's a big role reversal. So sometimes it also helps to have someone that's more like a doctor or someone more around their age to sort of break the news like, so I tried this and it worked out really well. Sometimes when it's coming from somebody their own age or someone that they really trust, hearing that they're going to change things in their environment makes it a lot easier for them to accept.
One big aspect that he says all parties need to remember throughout the process is that the goal is to keep loved ones safe, but still independent.
We still want to have our independence. They don't want to feel like they're just an invalid who has to be taken care of in every single way. So giving them the independence to be able to still use their washer and dryer on a main floor that they don't have to go downstairs to is a wonderful thing. Them being able to wheel in and take their own shower is a huge thing. So it's those things that I think really give them the respect and their independence, but also the freedom to still be who they are.
As a renovation expert, Pennington says that home safety and accessibility is important at every stage of life. In fact, it should be something to consider even when touring a home.
If I'm looking at a house and it's up on a berm or it's already got stairs you got to get to, I'm already thinking, okay, how could we put a ramp in? And it's not just for the future. It's also just whether you've got to get things to the back of the house, and a ramp just makes things a lot easier. So I just look at the landscape of a home already differently now because I understand that we're all going to have to age into a house. And so if you don't have an elevator, or you can't afford to put one in, then the other thing to do is to use the earth or to use, construction materials to build a ramp that makes it easier to access.
Bathrooms are also important to pay attention to. Many homes have smaller ones that aren't easily accessible for many disabilities. Accidents happen all the time, and you never know when you'll suddenly need the help of crutches or a wheelchair to get around. Also, if any of your guests have similar mobility issues, it's important for the home's first level to have accessible bathrooms. Pennington says another key area to assess is the kitchen.
In a perfect world, we all have these big kitchens where, someone can wheel around or have much more access to every area than they used to. But in some older homes, especially built in the 50s and 60s, kitchens were really small. And so you have to run a beam and you have to jack up the house and you have to take that load bearing wall and you have to really open things up. When you start getting into that, then that's a lot of money. So that's why when you're looking at a home, think about does it already have those big open spaces, or how much is it going to cost to adapt it so that I can have a home that's got that accessibility without costing so much to do huge renovations when you're jacking up a roof, when you're having to deal with your foundation, et cetera.
And even if you weren't thinking about renovations when first buying a home, Pennington says it's never too late to remodel in order to make your current and future life easier. In fact, aarp.org/caregiving provides a lot of information on how to affordably update your home. You can find more information about Amy Goyer, Ty Pennington, and all of our guests on our website, radiohealthjournal.org. Our writer-producer is Kristen Farah. I'm Reed Pence. This segment was brought to you by the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services. Updated COVID vaccines have arrived just in time for the season that brings us all together. Find updated COVID vaccines at vaccines.gov. We can do this. Coming up next week on Radio Health Journal.
It is sort of a weight management for certain people, and it's sort of a way to feel like they can drink as much as they want to without blowing their diet.
Should you be drinking on an empty stomach?
Then how much do you truly know about anesthesia?
We have to keep you alive while the surgeons do things that would otherwise kill you. We use the most powerful drugs known to man to disarm your central nervous system.
All that and more on Radio Health Journal.
I'm Nancy Benson, host of Radio Health Journal. If you enjoy listening to Radio Health Journal, you'll also like our sister show, Viewpoints, which covers a wide array of topics from education to history to the environment. Here's a preview of what they're covering this week on Viewpoints.
It was incredibly dehumanizing and demoralizing for the woman giving birth.
Imagine being strapped down during labor. Uncovering what female inmates go through when giving birth behind bars. Then,
how do we as people help nature adapt to our changing world? And I would argue there's a few different things we can do.
The fight to slow the extinction of Earth's species. I'm Marty Peterson.
And I'm Gary Price. These stories in depth this week on your public affairs magazine, Viewpoints.
Listen to Viewpoints on your favorite radio station and subscribe and listen to shows anytime on Apple Podcasts and Google Play.
And that's Radio Health Journal for this week. Follow us on Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram to learn more. And check Apple Podcasts, Google Play, and Spotify for a library of past programs. Plus, you'll always find previous segments and information about our guests at radiohealthjournal.org. Join us again next week for another edition of Radio Health Journal.